Tanti led him to the date palm tree. It was tall and its bark ridged. Palm fronds spread wide like an open beach umbrella. Dante dreamt for a minute that he was at one of Antigua's 365 beaches, where he could splash around in the shallow end of the water. When your daddy was little, Tanti said, he climbed this tree. Dante looked up. The tree was very, very tall. He'd seen men climbing coconut trees by gripping with their feet and knees and pulling themselves up with their upper body. Tanti said, my heart nearly jumped out my chest when I saw him up there too. His too, I think, when he realized that what goes up must come back down, she laughed. As you can see, the date palm bark isn't smooth like a coconut tree, not so easy to slide back down. One day you must ask your daddy if the 2 dates he picked were worth all the scratches. Dante tilted his head to try to see all the way up the date palm tree. Sun leaked between the bladed leaves. He tried to picture his daddy as a boy. He couldn't. He also couldn't picture himself up this or any other tree. Imagine being that high up and having to get back down. Dante backed away from the big tree. Tanti chuckled. Come, she said. There were 2 date palm trees in Tanti's yard, plus a guava tree, a tall papa tree, a sweet soursop tree, 3 mango trees, a Caribbean cherry tree, a lemon tree, a turkleberry tree, which Tanti said was used for sticking kites, banana trees, and in the ground, sweet potato, pumpkin, and watermelon. Dante had never paid attention to them before. Tanti walked him towards the oldest, sweetest, and biggest of the mango trees. It wasn't as tall as the date palm tree, but it was wide. Limbs stretched crookedly in every direction, covered it in leaves. Mangoes were starting to come in, but they were high up still. Dante felt his mouth water. He loved mangoes, and this tree he had dreamt of climbing. He was scared though. It was so broad, so big. The lower branches sprouted pale yellow mango blossoms. If high winds didn't knock them off, they'd turn into fruits that even he could reach. The high fruit was for the birds. What the birds don't peck up high, the dogs run off with down low. Tanti had heard his grandma gripe more than once. Everybody knew mongoose ate everything, but who knew even dogs liked mangoes? Want to climb? Tanti asked. When I was a little girl, like you, mangoes couldn't fall before I get to them. She pointed. You see those limbs high up? He did. He saw the way the strong breeze didn't just flutter the leaves, but caused the limbs themselves to wave. All up there I reached, Tanti said. You weren't afraid to fall? Dante asked. Can't think about falling, or you'll never climb, Tanti replied. Know what you have to think of? Dante looked up at her, eyes wide, and shook his head. She smiled, drawing out each adjective as she spoke. The big, fat, ripe, juicy, sweet mango. Dante was dribbling like he hadn't since he was a baby. We climbed every tree as a child, Tanti said, looking around the yard. She grew everything in it herself, tending it while dressed in her old boots and older straw hat. Walking home from school, nothing missed us. Not raspberry, not plum, not dums, not tamarind, not even stinking toe. And during the summer, there was so much mango and bright orange plum and guinea with the slick pink covering and the crunchy seed at the center. We could never go hungry. It wasn't good to eat too much though. She rubbed her stomach and pulled a pained face. Too much of anything is never good. Dante tried to picture his grandma as a girl, running and climbing trees. He could kind of see it. Tanti was the kind of grandma who played hand tennis with him in the street, outside the house, and jumped rope with him in the back veranda. Her front side peeked out as she said, What you say? You want to climb? In a voice that made her sound like one of his friends from school instead of his grandma. Dante looked up. He wanted to climb so bad, but it was so high. Come, I'll help you, Tanti said. She cupped her hands and bent over to give him a boost. Dante hesitated. Tanti waited with her hands cupped as though they had all the time in the world. Time ticked on. Dante tried to find his nerve. Tanti shook her cupped hands. He saw that they were clasped tight and knew she would not let him fall. Okay, he said, locking eyes with her as he raised his leg to step up into her arms.